Assalamu alaikum. Hi and very good evening to everyone. I'm Sobia Nabi from Sakar Delhi College Evening University of Delhi, and I'm here present to talk about the major trending topic that's being talked about around the globe, particularly in our country, India, that is water crisis a failure of the government, or is it the failure of we people or the citizens of a country? Being a student, I would say, with respect to the water crisis, it's definitely a reality, is a man-made disaster. Blame cannot be imposed on one section of the society only, but the entire society is responsible for this, whether it's a government, whether it's common people. I would not hesitate to say that part of the responsibility lies with the citizens. Also, I agree to that. Citizens are also responsible for such battle, for what crisis, but the bulk of blame goes to the government, the bulk of blame goes to the politicians, the people who are elected to power, because they're the ones who have to deliver. So I would say, in short, that water crisis is more the failure of government than the people. Let me give you a simple example. Me showering 1 liter extra is not causing water crisis at all. Definitely, it's the government's action, inaction, the things that have not been done by the government, or the things that have been done wrongly by the government is why this crisis have been arised. Okay. Secondly, we need to understand that these water crisis, this battle have to done nothing with the less rainfall. There are many countries in the world that actually get very less rainfall, but still they have a sufficient amount of water. So if we really want our want to manage our water bodies, we could easily do that without presenting less rainfall as an excuse. In all of this, as much as we talk about water literacy, we want our citizens, we want the local people to be water literate. Come on, let me ask you a question. Are our politicians, is our government really water literate? If so, then look at the crisis that happened in the city of Mumbai, in the Chennai. You otherwise have a drought, you otherwise have a depleted groundwater table in the city of Chennai. When rain comes and you have water log, which basically means the entire city has actually been paved on dams, on lakes, river bodies, floodplains, mangroves, or forests. Who has done that? This is the major question. Who has allowed this to happen? It's the government who has allowed all of this, who has allowed such crisis to happen. Talking about India's example, the leader of our country postures on Man Ki Baat, and tells the poor farmers, the majority of people, to save water. Well, majority of people, majority of India is not wasting water. At the end of the day, these encroachments are done by the government. Now, look at the irrigation policy of any country, particularly of our country. It's not by the people, it's by the government. If you take the example of Chennai, where wetlands have been encroached upon, and that's the primary reason why a water crisis have been arised there. Who allowed these encroachments upon the water wetlands there? It's the government who allowed these encroachments upon the wetlands there. Now, similarly, look at the Bangalore, look at all the lakes. A number of talks have been made on the lakes of Bangalore, on the crisis there. Actually, whenever these crises arised, we treated them as events, not as phenomena. If we treat such crises, such frantic situations just as events, we would tend to forget it. Tomorrow there might be a rainfall and there will be some other news. Now look at the number of forests, look at the number of mangroves or trees that are devastated. They have been actually cut down by the government. Now taking another example of our country, the motto of current Ministry of Forest and Environment claims to fame the number of permissions that's given, to the number of clearances that's given to clear the forests. It's common sense. If you really want your aquifers or floodplains to recharge your water, if you really want your surface water and groundwater to be intact, you would really need to keep your mangroves, your wetlands, your forests to be intact. Who's cutting them? This is the question. Who is cutting them? Who is encroaching upon them for mining, for bullet trains, for interlinking of rivers, this, that, and the other? It's simply the government. Here, I would like to say that infrastructure approach is actually not going to be the solution to this. Citizens do also need to play a role, both in terms of conserving water and demanding efficient water management from the government. Yes, citizens have a role, but the bulk of the blame goes to the government. Now, taking another example, imagine, dear viewers, imagine less than 10% of the municipal water gets treated. We don't recycle our water, we don't harvest our water, we encroach upon our river bodies, we allow events like Shri Shri's global cultural festival kind of things to happen on floodplains. We have allowed a number of constructions to happen in cities like Mumbai, Chennai, and Kerala, and the government has allowed such events to happen. What we expect, it's something that we have really worked hard to arrive at this, and we have really worked hard to arrive at this thing. So what we expect, it's nobody's mistake. We wanted it, we have signed it for it. Government has actually signed it for such events. So now government is making a fool out of us by coming with the jargons like Jal Shakti. Tell me one thing, the logo of Jal Shakti is Jal mein Nal or Nal mein Jal or something like that. If there will be no water, if there will be no Jal, what's the use of Nal? What's the use of tap then? Is it a privatization? Is it a mafia? Now I have a simple question to the government, that every imagery that you show up at the current water crisis, you have a water tanker, which basically means that there is a polar water economy that's been growing for several years. Yes, that's been growing for several, and if that is the incentive of a polar water economy, which worth billions of dollars, of course you want your surface water to disappear, of course you want your ground water to disappear, and that is the reason Niti Aayog, one of the institution, says that 70% of India's water is unusable. Come on, already 80 water bodies had been disappeared, and what do you expect if you have a statistics like this? In the end, I would say that the bulk of the blame for such crises that have been arised around the globe, or particularly in our countries, because of the government, is because of irresponsible things that have been done by the government, or the things that have been done wrongly by the government. It's more the failure of government. Now we'd like to saving a story in that the debate should not be on whose blame, whose irresponsibility caused what crisis, caused such battle in any part of the country, but the debate should be on what should be the solutions for such crisis in order to save such natural resources, not only for us but for our future generation as well. Thank you. Have a good day.